Hey, folks, and welcome to the channel and episode 3 of Under the Oak Tree Explained. In this series, what we're doing is taking an in depth look at my most recent EP, Under the Oak Tree. You can find it at Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, wherever you shop or stream for your music. All right, just like in previous episodes, what we're going to do here is we're just going to take a listen to the track. And then we're going to analyze it. This particular track is called Anchored in Time. I had a lot of fun making this track. It was rather odd, and you can kind of see in my DAW here that I was doing some things that I don't typically do. For example, it is in a 9/4 time signature, which is rather odd. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, right? So it gives a slight push in the music. In regards to Under the Oak Tree, this particular track was dealing with some type of turmoil, right? But it always, I like to give a sense of hope at some point in the music, regardless as to whether that hope manifests or not. I like to provide it. So, like I said, just like in other series, not series, other episodes, we're going to take a listen to the track in full, and then we're going to pick it apart and see what's happening with it, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's take a listen to Anchored in Time. And that is Anchored in Time. So I had a lot of fun writing this particular track. So just starting off, I tend to start off with ostinatos. It gives a sense of rhythm, and it gives an idea of where the track is going to go. So that right there is just odd, but it's great. Okay, but I really didn't do it on purpose. It kind of just happened, but there's no real accent to tell you that um, the meter is restarting. Okay, there's a slight slowdown in there, and honestly, I didn't quantize this because I liked the ebb and flow that the that guy played. I just liked it, so I kept it. Um, and so coming back into the track, two more elements are introduced. Okay, another piano. This is again, um, Spitfire Audio's soft piano in the labs area. So if you don't have that, again, just go get it. It's totally free and it's a great resource to have in composing. And a duplicate channel of that soft piano to give. So this kind of serves as a second ostinato. Um, Sometimes I do that. I'll stack ostinatos to give another sense of rhythm and to introduce some harmonic content or whatnot. Also, we have here an Atmos. And what that is still labs under the Tundra Atmos, and it is called Atmos. So it's very hard to hear, but it's there. Okay. And honestly, it is to be more felt than it is heard. So really, what the Atmos is doing, if you can't hear it, it's really just introducing some noise, right? And I used it to kind of mimic like an older record player, just to introduce some white noise, or in this case, it might be a little bit of pink noise. But either way, just to introduce some noise so that it feels like it's taking you somewhere, right? And if we're moving over to section A, and this is a great time for me to mention, if you don't have Studio One, then it has some great tools for you to kind of keep up with what's happening with your song. So this is the arranger track. So right here, I have all my instrument tracks that are right here, and then I have a marker track, a arranger track, and a tempo track. And so all of those have different purposes. The arranger track, you're able to rearrange each section as you need to in the actual in the edit window. But the cool thing about the arranger section is that if you have everything blocked here in a particular section, you can highlight this section, copy and paste it to another area in your edit window in your timeline, and it'll just copy everything that's in that particular section, which saves tons and tons and tons of time. So if you're doing genres like R&B, hip hop, pop music, then this particular feature in Studio One might save you a little more time when it comes to your arrangement time. It may not help with developing the melodic content or developing the idea, but there are some tools in place in order to help you move faster in your workflow. So moving forward, in section A here, I've introduced a cello, and I'll just solo that for you. And just to show you, it is Spitfire Labs, right? So we're using lots of Spitfire Labs here. So those of you who are theory buffs, you'll notice that that one particular note that let me see. So I'm in a minor key, right? A minor to be specific, right? And this would be harmonic minor to introduce that natural seventh, right? Okay. And it's haunting, right? So this is the amplified cello quartet tension, right? So it's not just your basic ensemble that they have here with Spitfire Audio, but it is one of their experimental um, patches that they have available, and it gives a lovely haunting sound that I came across, and I was like, oh my god, this will work perfect for this track. But in context, section A here. Yeah, I love it. And if we're being honest, this was the song that made me decide that I was going to do an EP. I was like, oh my God, there's an entire story here. What is it? And so that's how this track is what birthed the entire EP. So this one is a little special to me. So here in section B, the content changes ever so slightly. So a new ostinato pattern. And if we go over to the second piano, okay, and honestly, I probably couldn't even call this an ostinato because it doesn't. It's not constant, but it is more so arpeggiation than it is an ostinato. But the consistent rhythm almost makes it feel like it's an ostinato, right? So yeah. Then we're introducing a violin here. I wanted to lighten up the piece in order to give that sense of hope, because that dark cello just is like digging into the bowing and it's letting you know it's there and it's dark and it's lovely and it's gonna make you fall to your knees. But the violin isn't so much. This is again Spitfire Labs. They're long strings. And those of you who don't have Spitfire Labs, the real difference between they have in the string section, you have ensemble, you have long, and you have short, right? The longs just guarantee that you have long sustained notes. They're not legato, but they are sustained, right? And the short are obviously short. Ensemble, what it does is it gives velocity sensitivity to dictate whether or not your note should be long or short, right? So if you're playing the ensemble patch, then you need to be very aware of whatever your MIDI keyboard is doing on the velocity side, because if you want it to translate properly, essentially what I do is I just separate it. I'll separate my longs and I'll separate my shorts, and I'll know for sure that that is what's happening inside of the instrument, right? So moving forward, the violin kind of takes over here. Okay, and reintroduce that haunt. Okay, that haunting sound with the melodic content, so that the cello has room to re-enter. And I'll tell you a secret if I can find it. That one section here at the end, um, being totally transparent here, was a complete mistake. I was not supposed to play the notes that are out here now, but it came out, and I said, "Oh crap, I'm keeping it." Yeah, and I really don't know that I would be able to duplicate something like that. Of course, if I studied the MIDI information, then yeah, I could do it. And then we go back to section A, and it repeats itself, right? Given a closeout here. Then at the very end, we have the doubled ostinatos. Violin dies out, and then you'll see here in my tempo marking that I dropped it from 148 all the way down to 55. Okay, so it would give that sense of coming to a close. It seemed a little more natural to do a tempo change instead of playing it in as if I were slowing down. Um, yeah, and so that's just the trick of the DAW. And if you were writing something and you decided to just literally slow it down as you're playing, by all means, go for it. But I find it easier to do MIDI manipulation with a tempo automation, right? So if you're looking at my mix window, you'll notice that again, I have nothing on these tracks because they sound fantastic, right? They sound fantastic, and it's just nothing else to it. There's no reverb, no delay, no compression, not even an EQ. Because they just sound good. Now, granted, in the mastering phase, I did add some things there, but mostly nothing. I did pan the violin to the right a little bit because essentially the labs, as I mentioned in a previous episode, they pan their instruments according to where the instrument is sitting in an orchestral setting, right? And so because I'm using it as a solo instrument, I didn't want it hanging far left, so I had to swing it far right in order to slightly put it somewhere in the middle, so that it would stand out as it needed to. All right, so that concludes this episode reviewing Anchored in Time from my recent EP, Under the Oak Tree. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up. If you want to continue to see content that I create, go ahead and click that subscribe button. And if you really, really, really like this content, then go ahead and hit that notification bell, and you will get notifications whenever I post anything. All right, links will be in the description for where you can find the EP so that you can listen to it in its full story mode, if you will. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, then by all means get into that comment section and write something down. If you got a question, then I will do my best to get back to you promptly. All right. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode.